If I go off,
Welcome
you
to the
carry on
Penno
the same one.
channel, and then here we are. Hello and welcome to the Penno channel. Bro's talking over there, he's in the background. How you doing? Thanks for joining us. If you're here live, if you're watching back, thanks for joining. Before we start again, we appreciate if you could like the stream as well. Drop a comment on what we discussed within this, and also if you're new around here, drop a subscription. Bro, how you doing? Bit of technical difficulties, but you're here now. Or the technical
Yeah, I'm good,
difficulties still
bro. I'm
happening.
good. Happy to get Villa back in 2 days.
Yeah, good.
All good?
Yeah, good. Marcus joined us before we start.
All good?
All right,
All
Michael,
good.
how
Yeah,
you
yeah.
doing?
Just looking forward to Villa.
I don't know if you're lagging a bit, bro. Can you hear me now? With a few problems.
Yeah, I can hear you.
Yeah, you responded twice. Okay, cool. Yeah, we should be good to go now. Yeah, so let's get into it then. Chelsea, FA Cup, Friday, huge game, fourth round. We haven't been here for a while. After watching Chelsea last night against Middlesbrough, they did look good, albeit they beat Middlesbrough sized. We beat 1-0, they managed to beat them 6-1. Yeah, what we thought watching Chelsea last night, because I think they did put in a good performance. They went very strong, Caicedo, Enzo were playing, Mudryk, Cole Palmer, Sterling started, Breyer. They went really strong within their side, Sassy as well. How did you think they performed, and how do you feel we're going to get on Friday? I don't know if you can hear me, bro. I don't know what's going on. Can everyone at home hear me or watching? Can you hear me? Let me know.
I can hear you, but it's just a bit lagging. But I thought Chelsea played well yesterday, and I think it's going to be a tough game tomorrow, to be honest. Or sorry, Friday. I think we're going to have to go full strength. Them lot are going to be high on confidence. There's going to be a lot of players that are wanting to play their way into their Wembley side. So yeah, I think they're going to be a tough.
Yeah, thanks all for letting us know that you can hear us. Yeah, as you say, I think they are going to be a tough opposition. They're going to be right up for it after that performance they've put in. They've been on a decent run within the Premier League as well, and they're looking to get their season back on track because they have had a disappointing year and a half. Now they're in the League Cup final. They'll be looking to win that. But it will be interesting to see if they do go slightly weakened side in comparison, because obviously Premier League's back next week, and having played midweek this week, there'll be three games within a week for Chelsea. So it will be interesting to see how they set up regarding that. How do you feel they'll go? Do you think they'll go strong?
Yeah, I think there'll be maybe a couple of changes, but I just think it's more interesting like how we'll set up. If we're training this week, Emery's press conference probably tomorrow, so it'll be interesting to see if we got Powell back yet, because he's such a big miss. But yeah, apart from starts or not, I think we'll be looking to go full strength and try and win the game. So Chelsea might rotate a little bit, but I'm not expecting too much rotation now.
Yeah, I think they'll go relatively strong as well, bro. I'm in agreement with you there. They're not used to playing this many games within a week. They'll really have done it. Obviously, they weren't in Europe this year, so it'll be kind of new to them. So I think their players will have the legs and they'll want to continue playing, and Poch will want to continue winning. So I think they'll go relatively strong, and it will be interesting to see how with Newcastle coming up next week, which is a huge game in the league. We're trying to compete on all fronts, but it'll be interesting to see how strong we actually do go. What's lineup selected. So if you were in Emery's shoes now, potentially I haven't seen Powell, we don't know the situation with Powell, but if Powell says he's ready to play and he's available, how would you like us to line up?
Yeah, Martinez, Moreno has to start, Dean's still out. Powell, Carlos, Konza, then I'll go Ramsey, Louise. Or if Ramsey's out, I'll go Tillemans instead. And then Louise, Kamara, McGinn, Watkins, Bailey.
Yeah.
Probably no Diaby.
Yeah. So kind of like the teams we were seeing against City and Arsenal, just without Powell.
Yeah.
We'd go strong.
Yeah, that kind of team. But then again, would it be smart to? I know Diaby hasn't been the best, but like his pace on transition with Chelsea's back four, I don't know. He might start as well. It'll be interesting to see, but we got options, which is good to see, man.
Yeah, against Chelsea at their place, we did try and match them on the ball. We are that sort of side now that we try and match it. Doesn't matter who the opposition is. We'll try and play our game and play our way. So looking for the transition, um, I don't know if we'll look to set up that way or we'll just look to keep the ball with Tielemans and begin operating off, wider of Dougie and Kamara and in those spaces. And then when we come into that, that box four, use those and just keep the ball and play around them. Because I remember Boubacar and Dougie had ridiculous games against Chelsea at Stamford Bridge. They were so good within the middle of the park. Kept the ball really well and did really well against Caicedo and Enzo and Gallagher, who were in the middle there that day. So yeah, it will be interesting to see how we do line up, and I feel Emery will go relatively strong as well. I'm in agreement with that. Yeah. So overall, how are you feeling regarding the scoreline? Do you think we'll go through? Do you think we'll get through? Is he gone? While waiting for him, I'll have a look at the comments. Marcus says, any squad news? No. As we said, we'll wait for the Emery press, Mark, but I don't have anything at the moment. Not sure if Emery, when Emery's press conference will be. I imagine it is tomorrow. So yeah, it'll be interesting to see what Emery says regarding Powell and if he's available. But I did see some training pictures from the start of the week, and he wasn't in them. So who knows? He might have been just doing some individual training and joining up the squad later. Rachel says, evening all. We'll be in and out as I'm still working. Thanks for joining, Rachel, anyway. Really appreciate it. I think my bro's gone. I'm not sure what's going on. He's having technical difficulties, which is a shame. Paul says, hi, Penno and Adam. How are you, mate? I'm looking forward to Friday's game. Not very well at the moment. Being ill since Saturday with a cough and that. I hope you get well soon, Paul. Yeah, there's a lot of that going around at the minute. It's that time of year, isn't it? So, yeah, hope you get well soon, mate. And Deontay says, could very well be a replay at Villa Park. Yeah, I could see that happening. Definitely, I could see us getting a draw, but then it's just the additional fixture congestion then. It's another game on top of that. Something we won't be looking to have. I think we'll go strong trying to go for it, but I could see a draw happening and us going back to Villa Park. But it is an additional game, and we want to try and limit those as much as possible and keep everyone fresh and be as strong as we can be within the league before the Conference League comes back around again. So yeah, we'll move on to what's been going on this week, and Villa have made a signing, which is really good, really good. 18-year-old Costa Nedeljkovic. I'm going to go for pronouncing it. I don't know if that's right. Correct me in the comments if it's wrong with that. Let me know. But yeah, come from Red Star Belgrade, Champions League experience, Serbian, play through the ranks within Serbia at under 20, not under 19 level. So really good experience playing. He's played against Man City. You'll probably be seeing highlights of how he played and operated against a certain Jack Grealish within that game. So yeah, it's a very good purchase for the future. 6.5 million. There'll be additional add-ons within that, dependent obviously on appearances, possibly if we qualify for Champions League, etc. So yeah, it's a really good signing, and it kind of shows a different model that we're going for now, and how we're looking to operate under Monchi and everyone within the club. We're looking at young talent, and we're looking to get them in and develop them, and potentially they will be accommodated into the first team squad eventually, or they possibly go back on loan and then come back and then be integrated into the first team squad and look to build on within the future. But yeah, it's a totally different process because obviously under Gerrard we signed a 30-plus-year-old Digne, Coutinho, then Donker. I know Bednarak was on loan, but he was quite old as well. Except for Boubacar Kamara, really, we were really looking at an age profile to bring experience into the club, which was kind of Gerrard's thinking and methods, I feel, under that, and along with Lange as well. Even though Lange was operating and he did scout some players, remember the whole Ismaila Sarr incident, who was relatively young at the time as well. So yeah, it's a totally different model that we're going for, and it will be interesting to see how this works. Obviously, I'm sure some of you have seen the other rumours as well regarding other players. Paul stated, have we bought Morgan? No, I'm not aware. There was, I think Fabrizio tweeted that there was we're planning to launch a third bid, but I'm not aware if that has taken place or yeah, we're not really to know as the average fan. So yeah, did watch the game last night. Got scored a great goal in the end. He had some nice touches in the box. It's difficult to, especially against a side like Chelsea and a Premier League side. It is difficult to, you know, understand and profile how a player plays because he's not playing with players as good as what he would be at Villa. So to judge him based on that performance or against Premier League sides, as in us and Chelsea, it's a bit of a difficult one. I thought he looked good in that spells. He's still really young. Obviously, he had a great pedigree coming through, West Brom, Man City signing him. Man City saw big things with him. Had some good load experience as well within that. He was at Lincoln the same time as Brennan Johnson, and we've seen what Brennan Johnson's gone on to do in the Premier League. Done really well for Forest and ended up getting a big move to Spurs. And he was highly rated along Brennan Johnson, and some say he was better at the time. So yeah, it'll be interesting to see if that does go through. The figures quoted around 10 million. Yeah, I think that's what Middlesbrough are holding out for, and we'll just see. It's all part of the negotiation process, and we'll see if we do get him in before the end of that. So that's Rodgers. There was a keeper who we were linked with as well. I think that Icelandic keeper, highly rated in the Icelandic league, young, one of the best keepers within that league. And there's a few rumours. Supposedly we'd put a bid in alongside Copenhagen, but turns out he's off to Brentford, which is interesting because Brentford are quite renowned for their scouting system and how they attract players from far and wide in line with a Brighton, the two really well-renowned clubs for doing that. So, yeah, interesting that he's gone to Brentford. They state that they've offered a bit more from some sources that I've read. It's interesting because I feel Brentford potentially will offer him first team football or competition for Flecken. Obviously, David Raya is currently on loan at Arsenal. I can see that becoming permanent. I think there's around a 30 million agreement within that. So if David Raya does become permanent, then they're after a number two, and potentially this keeper who does come with a high rating has been promised that he'll be going up against a keeper for the number one jersey instead of with Villa. He hasn't really got much chance at the minute with Emi Martinez. As he's going to be playing limited to cup games within that, or if Martinez gets injured. And we've got Robert Olsen currently here as well. We don't know the situation regarding him. We also have Sansulo here as well, Marshall. There's a number of keepers within the club and on the books, albeit some are at loan at various clubs. There's a lot of keepers. So yeah, I can see why that happened. I don't think it was anything to do with status or anything like that. I've seen comments saying, Villa outbid and Brentford. No. I think Brentford had for where the player is currently and possibly what he wants to achieve. I think Brentford had a better proposal because they probably can guarantee more minutes than we can currently. So yeah, that was another interesting rumour. Transfer saga, should I say, that's occurred as well. Apart from that, there's other rumours. There was a sort of a Neuhaus rumour floating about. I don't know if there's any legs within that. He was playing really well for Borussia Mönchengladbach last season. Start of this season as well, he was very strong. He's a decent player, but recently he signed himself on the bench, and yeah, he was an interesting one. Looking through his performances and appearances recently, he hasn't been getting many minutes. Former Germany international, has played for Germany at the Euros as well. So yeah, that was an interesting link. Would have been nice, obviously, as we'll get onto the departures that are happening. But yeah, that's been turned down as well. That's been kind of closed and stated that there's no formal interest from Villa within that. I'll just go through a few comments before we get on to the departures, and one that looks like it's going to be imminently happening. Rachel says, slightly concerned with the Finn squad. However, we go with what we have, and the squad has done well this far. Yeah, and I always remember it being stated that Emery likes to operate with a Finn squad. That's how he operates with his previous sides in Valencia, Villarreal. He liked to operate with a smaller squad. So it will be interesting to see if we do bring any future further players in. Emery's always stated if the right deal becomes available and it's the right player who fits within the system and what he wants, then they'll go for him. if they're not available or they can't do that business, they won't be rushed into doing business, which is something I respect. I do respect that because there's been enough times Villa have wasted money on transfers, and it's nice to see it's a more thorough approach to getting players in. Paul says, Penno, did you think it's very unfair that Man City will do what they want? The rest of us have to suffer buying players. Yeah, I mean, it's never going to be a fair playing field. We'll see what the outcome regarding the Man City charges and where that all goes. Whether they will be found guilty, which in my opinion, I don't think they will. I think the whole process will be drawn out. A lot of lawyers and a lot of money will be spent on lawyers on Man City side. So whether that will even get to a decision within the next 5-10 years, etc., I'm not sure. But yeah, because of how they've gone about it, whether it is legally or illegally, they've managed to build up the revenue and generate the revenue and create the platform. And then they've been quite sustainable over the last 5 seasons in terms of selling players and buying players. But obviously, the initial build up is where you might see the books and think there might be. Be interesting to see how it goes with Man City regarding that. But clubs like, as I say, Villa, Newcastle, it isn't surprising that both Newcastle and Villa over the recent weeks have come out and said that potentially they'll be looking to sell one of their top players just to generate revenue, comply with the books, FFP as well. So yeah, it's not great news, but we've done it before, and if that was the case, we've bounced back from that before. A la Grealish, we bounced back from that, and who would have thought from selling Grealish we'd be in the position we are in now, all down to the owners and Unai Emery, and then the players picking up performances. But if you'd have told me at that time we'd be where we are now, I wouldn't be so sure regarding that. I didn't see the trajectory, especially when Steven Gerrard was here. So yeah, we're going to have to play to the rules. I think Villa, we do play to the rules, and we're going to have to continue to do so, because I think that's the only way you can go about it, especially now how strict they're being on clubs like Everton and Nottingham Forest. And again, wouldn't be surprised if Everton get further points deductions, and also Forest get a points deduction from what's been going on. So yeah, it's tough now. It is tough, and you want to play fair. But we will be looking to compete. We're currently competing now. Let's say if we do get Champions League football, that's another area we can generate revenue. The club, Chris Heck, everyone will be looking at proposals and ways we can do that. Adidas sponsorship will help as well. So yeah, there's multiple ways and areas we can do so. And Emery's known for overachieving. That's his lineage. That's how he operates. So I wouldn't be surprised if he continues to do so. More comments. Yeah, Paul says Sanson transfer needs to be done. Yeah, there was talks that he has €4 million clause within his contract on the loan currently at Nice. He's been playing really well over there from games I've watched and performances that I've looked at. So the buy option, potentially they will activate it, the €4 million buy option. Now, it's not what we paid for him. I think it was around £15 million at the time. But it's coming towards the end of his deal. I think he's got a year left. If we can get after this, so if we can get a fee for him now, yeah, it'd be nice to get his wages and him just off the books. Also, we'll go into this one as well. Could be 12 million plus for Dendonka. Yeah, so I think it's announced now that Leander Dendonka is going through his medical at Napoli now, and that should be signed and sealed within either today or tomorrow, which is a very interesting one. Now, I'm of the opinion of Leander Dendonka. If he's come in at moments and had performances where, he's done a job for us. I always remember the Newcastle performance. That was the most surprising one for me. I thought that was the one game I remember he was outstanding in, when we beat Newcastle 3-0 at Villa Park. A game where we were missing Boubacar Kamara. So, yeah, that was a really good performance. But sometimes he lacks that pace in certain areas, and he's not as good on the ball as a Kamara or Douglas Luiz are. So I'm all for if you have the opportunity to improve on a player and we can get rid within that. He's not getting any younger as well, and with a loan, potentially an option to buy as well, or other clubs looking at him, we can get rid. The thing is now is where do we go from here regarding the squad? It'll be interesting to see if Unai is happy with the squad currently. If this means now Tim is just promoted again on another echelon within the squad, as he'll get more minutes on the pitch. Or if a Dougie or a Kamara is injured, Tim's right there then to start a game. I think Tielemans has kind of found his position now off the left. I wouldn't like to change that. I think that's where he's been really good for us. And sometimes in the middle, he kind of lacks the legs. Strange with Tim, because Tim, QPR fans last season were raving about him in parts, and then some parts he did struggle as well. Michael Beale was a big fan of him and did like to play him. And then since he's come back, really, he hasn't. Obviously, he had the injury at the start of the season, which kept him out for a while. But Unai's had opportunities to play him in, cup games especially in the cup game. Middlesbrough last week. That was a game I thought that he'd potentially start in. Never did. So, yeah, it's interesting if you're trying to bed him in. I feel like Tim is a great player. Out of that young crop, the Carney, it was Irabunam and Kane Kessler-Hayden for me, who look like the ones coming through, and we'll get on to Kessler-Hayden as well because he's come back into the squad. But yeah, it'll be interesting to see if Tim does get promoted into the first team squad and as a viable option off the bench instead of getting a couple of minutes at Old Trafford and a couple of minutes at the Riverside. I think he has the ability. It's just, and Unai's the coach for him to harness that ability. The way Tim plays, I don't think he's as defensive as some people think he is. He's more of a box-to-box 8. QPR, sometimes he was carrying the ball further up the field and he was really playing like an auxiliary 10 position. He was playing really high. And I remember the few runs he made within that time, he was winning penalties on the ball, really good on the ball, deceptively quick as well. So yeah, he does kind of operate further forward than a defensive midfielder. So is he a like-for-like? Is he like-for-like for Dendoncker? No, I don't think he is. I think Dendoncker's more defensively minded. Dendoncker operated in the free at Wolves, at Belgium at times as well. So he was more defensively minded, whereas Tim's a bit more forward-thinking. But that's, who's to say that's not something he can also develop under Unai Emery? So that will be interesting. If that is not the case, then do we go in for another midfielder within this window? Yeah, we saw the Neuhaus links again. He's statistically similar to John McGinn. Like comparatively over Europe's top 5 leagues, the player he compares to the most was John McGinn, which is really interesting. And McGinn, he's not operating down the middle now. He's operating off the right. I feel that's his best position this season. That's where he's putting his best performances. With that being shut down, yeah, it'll be interesting to see if there are what rumours do come about and if anyone does come in. And as Richard said, the squad's getting thinner. With Dendoncker going now, the squad is getting thinner. So yeah, it'll be interesting to see if we do bring someone in because the amount of games we've got. Potentially, that is one we need to look at. Paul said, Digne, Coutinho, Mings, would you sell? Digne, Coutinho, yeah. Coutinho's another one out on loan at the minute as well. Again, there was some paper talk regarding a certain fee we'd get back if he returned from loan early, but I don't think that had anything within it. I think that was paper talk. It's going to be difficult because of the wages Coutinho's on for him just not to see out his contract, and potentially we'll continue to loan him out until that, and they pay a percentage of his wage. Digne, at some point it will come to a time where Digne we'll have to look at that. He's on a massive wage, according to reports, that 160 you're looking at for his age as well. Is there a way how we're operating now, looking at how we got Costa from Red Star Belgrade? Can we get a left back option who's going to be half the price in terms of wages and at an age where we can develop them, and they have the potential to be at a higher level than a Digne? With Alex Moreno as well, they're both over 30, our left back options. So that will be interesting to see how we develop that. Ben Christen, he's out on loan currently at the minute. Do they regard him as good enough to be in the first team? There's plenty of options. There are plenty of options, but yeah, Digne, I think they will be looking to offload soon. And if Moreno hadn't got injured towards the end of last season, I think it would have been a different story regarding Digne and him being at the club. But since he has played this season, he's played really well throughout. But yeah, Mings, we have to wait and see how he is. Obviously you want Mings to come back into the squad. That's what we want. And potentially from next season, Lenglet goes, and then Mings is as part of that back four core of Mings, Torres, Konza, and Carlos. But yeah, we'll see regarding that. Just hope he comes back to full fitness and how he was before. Yeah, as you said, Paul. Yeah, we need a CDM now, and that's the interesting thing. Do we get a replacement in, or what options or what plans does Emery have regarding that? Because if you think about it, yeah, you've got Boubacar. Who is that Boubacar who could step into that role? You know, Boubacar can drop deep into the right back role when Matty Cash pushes forward. He sometimes operates within that three, and that's something Dendon could do, because Dendon had played so many games in the back three for Belgium and for Wolves as well, so he was used to doing that. So that'd be really interesting to see if we do go in for someone more defensively minded, because I don't think Tim's that at this moment in time. So yeah, another player, as I said, Kane Kessler-Hayden's returned from his loan at Plymouth. I wonder what the plan is for Kessler-Hayden. Again, one of the players from the Youth Cup winning, FA Cup winning side, who I had really high hopes for. He really shone out in that side, and he's some player. He struggled at times in Huddersfield. He struggled at times the way they were operating within their formation. I don't know if he's more of a right wing back instead of a right back, because within the Swindon side, when he was at Swindon on loan, he was playing really well. I always remember the game against Man City where he chased back against Kevin De Bruyne, made that tackle, and he's a real prospect here. Kind of stalled a bit at Huddersfield. The manager fell out of love with him. Went to Plymouth, was starting games, was playing well in games, and again just a bit in and out at times. But he was contributing along with Finn Azaz as well. So yeah, I think there's a player in there as well with Kessler-Hayden, and the fact that you've got Matty Cash there, you've got Konza who can play out there as well. Kessler-Hayden being another option in the meantime, and then we've signed Costa Nedeljkovic as well. That's 4 right backs within that area, and potentially the 3 to have for this season going into all the competitions that we are in. So maybe priorities change, and now we signed a younger right back who we've loaned back out, but ideally that's the right back position we'll be looking for, and Kane Kessler-Hayden's come in now within that time period, and he'll operate as a starting in cup down games potentially, or coming off the bench. So that is really interesting regarding KKH returning to the club. I think now priority is Dendoncker replacement. For me, I think Dendoncker replacement is something they will look at now, and we always state another forward option. Again, all the talk around John Duran, and I think a lot of it. Sorry about that. Stream just dropped out there. Yeah, as I was saying, John Duran, agent talk. I think a lot of it is agent talk. Linked with Chelsea, West Ham potentially going in for a loan of John Duran as well. If we don't find someone, a replacement, and I don't even know if Emery's willing to let him go anyway. I think a lot of it is Colombian media, which spread the information. Because in Colombia, which something we might understand here, John Duran's a big deal. Think of his age as he's 20 years old, Colombian international, albeit he scored for his national side. So he's their next big thing. He's huge for Colombia. So they want to see him playing first team football. That's their opinion. That will be their opinion from South America. They want to see one of their biggest talents from their country starting and playing games. So I think a lot of it will be agent talk, and media will be from that side. The reports that come across about him potentially leaving, or certain frictions between management and John Duran, because they want him. They want to see him play at a club where he'll be starting all the time, because then that only benefits them. But for Villa, we want to try and develop him and keep him, because he's such an asset and he has the potential to be an even bigger asset. And if Emery sees it fit that he does go, then it will be his decision. But the stories I see and all the rumours and stuff like that, I think that a lot of it's just noise. And again, for Colombia, Duran is probably one of their biggest prospects right now. Age striker playing in the Premier League, for a team currently in the top four, who's had international appearances and scored goals for his country. So yeah, that's how I think they see it from that side, and why you see so many headlines and rumours about Duran leaving, or this and that. His whole antics regarding his Instagram posts and stuff like that, I think he's just a wind-up merch. I think that's just his personality within that. I think he just likes a wind-up. Seen some stuff regarding the players as well. Leon Bailey did an impression of him, and it kind of came across that that's how he approaches it. And that's just him. That's who he is. Now, whether Emery's tolerant of that, that's a different story. And we have no actual facts regarding that. It's just hearsay. So it'll be interesting to see. And if he is here by the end of January, then I think that all but confirms that, their belief in John Duran, and they want to stay around. Because if those rumours are true, there's a number of clubs that are interested. Paul says, I'd like to see how Rico Richards does on loan as well. Yeah, Emery's son in the youth team. Yeah, I saw Emery's son was on the bench as a keeper. I wasn't aware of that, but yeah, he's in the youth team. And yeah, Rico Richards, let's see how he does out on loan now. Another one for the Albion Academy initially. So yeah, been playing well. He's been playing well, and you always see pop up scoring goals in the youth setup. So yeah, let's see how he does as well. That could just be another one that potentially we sell on, or comes into the first team picture. Paul also said the other thing, we need a massive stadium to get massive stature. Stadium talk again. It's always going to be there. It is always going to be there. And obviously now with all the plans held back, or completely put to one side, that is always going to be the talk now of creating greater revenue. Like, you get more people, get more bums in seats. But if you do go for that process and procedure, there's going to be a period where something on the other side's going to have to take a back step. And would that be transfer budget? Would that be other amenities, other things that we require the percentage go of that reducing, the amount of funding and budgeting for that reducing, so it can go to a new stadium? Because within that process, you always see sides, they have to set back in one area. I remember Spurs, and when they were playing at Wembley, the transfer budget patch went many a window, not signing anyone, all for them to get their new stadium, and it took its time. So it's about timing. And if we were to get Champions League football, would this be the right time to move stadium, or would you want to keep the investment in the transfers, in the squad, in the team? Because we can create a large amount of revenue just from being in that competition and becoming a stalwart in that competition and qualifying every year. And then if that increases the stature as well, then that would lead to more recognition worldwide, then more merchandise, etc., etc. So yeah, it's an interesting development, and how they will go about it. And I think a lot of it will outlay on this season and where we do finish. Hopefully, fingers crossed as well, that 5th place in the Champions League coefficient, and English clubs within Europe step the game up and make sure that 5th is another Champions League spot, because we are definitely right in it. We're already right in it now, but if that is the case, then yeah, it's looking very good. Paul also says, plus he was here, Juan Pablo. Yeah, you always remember the video when Duran came and he was sitting in the stands, and Juan Pablo did that video for him. Yeah, exactly. Juan Pablo, many Colombia caps, Villa player. Yeah, I'm sure part of him will want to follow in his footsteps, especially as well for his country. Ken M says, where would the move stadium? That's another factor. I'm not so sure where they would move it within Birmingham, where the available land is to start a development for that, which is another factor, because I don't think it's going to be within Aston or within that area, that district. So yeah, we'll see. We'll see. Yeah, so transfers in, transfers out. It's interesting. It's an interesting time, and what with this such limited amount of games in this winter break, a lot of talk we have seen has been on off the field issues or transfers. And for me, I'm not a fan of this winter break. I think going from such a compact schedule in December to then having 4 games, and if you didn't make it through the third round of the FA Cup, you would have been on 3 games and not in the League Cup. So yeah, I'm not a fan of it because you cramp up all those games in December and then you have such a break. Now, and is there really that much benefit? I don't know. I'm not so sure. So yeah, I can't wait for football to be back. 2 games in quick succession now, and it's the business end of the season. And yeah, I'm very positive with how we'll go about it, and can't wait to see it. I'll be going to Stamford Bridge on Friday as well, so looking forward to that. Got a good record there of recent times as well, so long may that continue. Thanks everyone for joining. One thing, when's a new badge coming? When we're going to see that? When they're going to officially announce the Adidas sponsorship as well? It'd be interesting to see when those things come into fruition and there'll be actual announcements from Villa. So there's a lot to look forward to in regard to that. Yeah, all positive, and let's see what happens regarding business over the next week. See who else does come in, if anyone else does come in, and who else does leave. There'll be a plan. There'll be a strong plan from Monchi and Emery and the rest of the backroom staff. They'll know what they want to do. It kind of looks like we're going for a younger model, younger approach, younger players who can develop. But who knows? It would just be interesting to see how it does develop. Thank you all for joining. Really appreciate the comments that you provided in here. Again, if you could like the stream. If you're new around here, if you could drop a subscription if you enjoy the content. And also drop a comment on the video as well. Let me know your thoughts on what we discussed regarding the game coming up on Friday. The current transfers, ins and outs, whatever you've seen. And yeah, just any other news regarding Villa, drop a comment within the comment section and I'd like to respond to those and see what your thoughts and opinions are. Thank you all for joining. It's much appreciated. Hope we get through to the 5th round on Friday and up the Villa.